Yeah. Okay. Well, hello, Marcus. Hello, everybody. Hello, hello. Welcome to Spill the Tea with Rachel G. And yes, I am Rachel G, as in Rachel G. Palmistry. And I have tried and relaunched and tried and relaunched. And if you know me personally, you know I have many ideas, and I'm constantly coming up with new plans and doing this and doing that. But at least I am trying. Hello there, Find Me a Medium. Hello, thank you for stopping by and watching us here. And anyway, so this is a podcast, and I am doing it live tonight on Facebook and on YouTube. Tried to get Instagram involved, but it just went kaput on me. So we're just not going to talk about that anymore tonight. But we are live. You are more than welcome to ask questions. Anything that you want, please. Hello, I know it's
Hello,
Veronica.
Veronica.
Yeah. You are more than welcome to join in. That's why I like to do the podcast first as a live and be a part of it. Spread the love, though, share it out, and then I will take the recording. And if you can't catch the live, you can always catch the replay. And that is going to be on Spotify, iHeartRadio, Audible, Amazon Podcasts, and Amazon Music. I'm sure I'm missing one, but we're going to go with it. So tonight, I have a good friend of mine, and you can already see him on the screen. This, everybody, is my good buddy. I am February 21st. He's February 22nd. This is my good friend, Marcus Lapsa.
Good evening, everybody. Good
Yes, hello,
evening. And hello,
Pisces. Hello,
Veronica.
Pisces. Yes, hello, Veronica. Long time no see. All right, so I did start off with a little couple of questions here and there, and I tried to check the whole thing twice. Now, I know that a lot of people here in the States, and I even admitted to you, Marcus, what I know about a UK politics couldn't fill like a cup. It really couldn't. I try my best though. I try, but I do. I try. But you are in Wales, correct? I
No,
know
no,
that you
no,
were.
no. I was
No, but
born in Wales. Born
so
in
you're
Wales.
Welsh in heart, but you are in Coventry, correct? You
Yes.
are a
Yeah,
counselor and all that. Okay, all right. So, but you're also a medium.
that's correct. That's correct.
Hence the title for tonight's show, which is "The Politician Who Communicates with Spirits." All right. And on the other side of that, you're also a really great humanitarian, and you do a lot of work within your community and also with CALSA Aid and Langer Aid. Did I
That's
get those two
correct.
names
Yeah.
right? Okay. All right. So I have to ask, are you a member of what I'm sure a lot of people here in the States do not know what it is, but the Spiritualists National Union, the SNU. Are you a member of that?
I'm not a current member at the moment because I'm not a member of an SNU church.
Okay.
But the Spiritual National Union, it is a charity within the UK, and it
Hmm.
runs churches, training programs for healers, mediums, speakers, and teachers. And I did my what we call development via an SNU church, although it wasn't, to be honest, it wasn't on the SNU program. But
Mm-hmm.
so I was affiliated with the SNU for quite a number of years. When I first come into spiritualism.
Mm-hmm. All right. So, and spiritualism, just for those of you that do not know, is classified as a religion within the UK, correct?
Yes, correct. Yes, yeah.
Okay. And so, as a medium and the spiritualist churches, they pretty much, how would that look? What would that look like to have an event at or a meeting at a spiritualist church in the UK? What does that look like?
Yeah, there's quite a few different. There's the SNU, which is Spiritualist National Union, and then you've got your Christian spiritualists. You've got various other than the Corinthians. You've got various different groups, and they got slightly different approaches to spiritualism. But basically, it's it's very similar to any church that you would go into. They have what they call divine services, where you would get the chair that is sort of running the service, basically.
Mm-hmm.
To give an introduction, they will most have a prayer, and then they might sing a hymn, and then they'll maybe have a healing minute or a healing hymn, and then they will ask the medium for an address on the philosophy of spiritualism. Then they will have possibly a reading as well, either from the chair or the medium. And then then the latter part of the service is where the medium then attempts to connect with spirit and give messages. So very, very similar to where you have your public demonstration of mediumship.
Mm-hmm.
It's then that format where a medium will attempt to link with spirit and give the messages from the loved ones in spirit. Or doesn't have to
Thank
be loved ones and friends, obviously.
right, right. Acquaintances, friends, that kind of thing. Yeah. So I know I went a little bit off of the questions there for a moment, but I guarantee you a lot of people in the States do not really understand that it is a belief system and valid, etc. And that's an unfortunate thing. But when did you, like, how old were you? How did you understand or come into the understanding that you had the ability to communicate with spirit?
Oh wow, it's a bit of a funny one, that is, because I'm 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 an ex-rugby player. Very,
Oh,
the way
okay.
to describe that is American football without the pads.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Sort of rugby. And yeah, and I was keen rugby player, and at that time I used to drink a bit of alcohol. I'm teetotal now. I've been teetotal way over 35 years, and my wife came to the rugby club after a match, and she said, "Oh, I've just had a reading from a medium." I said, "Oh,
Oh,
okay," and I was a little bit, tipsy, to say the least. And she said, "Oh, you want to come down?" Because it was what we call a psychic fair, where you would have
uh,
mediums and readers and
yeah.
palmists, not as good as you, obviously.
Thank
um, and I says, "Well, why do I want to go to something like that?" She says, "But this person's told me everything about you." And I says,
you.
"Well, I know everything about me." And then she said, "Well, let's go." And I went there, and it was a Sunday evening, and I went there, and
Mm-hmm.
this lady touched a nerve. She touched a nerve, and she had advised me to go to a spiritualist church. So uh, the reading ended, and I went, and basically the lady proved survival to me. And I went back into the pub, pub where my wife was waiting, and bar for anybody else that don't know what a pub is, by the way. And I said, this lady's recommend me to go to a spiritualist church, and I don't even know at that time. I didn't understand what the term spiritualist was. So my
Mm-hmm.
wife said, "Oh, I know where a spiritualist church is." So she took me to the spiritualist church, and then from then, I started learning a little bit about spiritualism, and it gelled with me. And then I started sitting in development circles and, circles for development. And within 2 years, I was working as a medium.
Oh
Um,
wow. And how old were you when this all first started for you?
28, 29,
Oh,
28, something like that.
okay.
Something like that. Yeah.
All right. And so I have to ask, how long did it take for you to get to a point where you felt that you had honed your abilities, and what did that look like for you? Like, what
Uh,
did you do to kind
yeah.
of work
Uh,
that up, work on that?
well, it was a bit funny, really, because the misconception is that, you have to see spirit in a specific way. And I sat
Mm-hmm.
what they call in an open circle for maybe 18 months. And I was sitting there saying, "Well, I'm not getting nothing. I'm not seeing it." But I sat every day. Sorry, every day, every week on
Mm-hmm.
on a Monday, and it wasn't until this lady, her name was Jane Boyce, who was the teacher at the time. She lost her temper with me. Basically,
Mm-hmm.
she says, "For goodness sake, just tell me what you're thinking." And I was there, and I said, "Well, I'm thinking this, and I'm thinking that," and that was my first recognized link with spirit in the format of what I thought the churches would understand. And then
Mm-hmm.
I gave it was another sitter's mother-in-law, and I gave very evidential evidence. And then from there, the realization then that a lot of the terminology within the movement was absolute nonsense, to be honest with you. Absolute nonsense. And then I thought, well, is that what they mean by communicating with spirit? But I've been doing
Mm-hmm.
that all my life, all those thoughts and all this that, and it was that realization that the way in which clairvoyance works, the way in which clairaudience works, and
Mm-hmm.
clairsentience works, then I thought, well, that's what we do anyway. That's what
Right.
we've been doing all our lives, and you just put a different label on it. And
Right, right.
yeah,
And you weren't familiar as much with the specific terms
yeah,
that were being used that would almost make it more professional. Like
yes,
like if you've ever heard of like art speak, when somebody goes to describe a painting or something and they use all of these philosophy and all this other
hmm,
stuff, and it's like, what? It's a painting. It's a
exactly.
painting. You know, it's like it's a painting. I can observe it as a painting just as much as you can, you know, that
Yes,
kind
yeah,
of
yeah.
thing. So on to the next part of it then. So if somebody were to ask you, what do you do? How would you answer that? Not about the mediumship, but like, Marcus, what do you do for a living?
Oh
What would
God!
they what would you
Oh,
say? What would you say?
I'm multifaceted. I'm a blessed person, really. I'm a domestic appliance engineer, so I repair your washing
Yeah.
machines, I repair your microwaves and whatever.
Mhm.
And I also then retrained, and I used to teach part time in further education, Cisco
Mhm.
Networking Systems, which is an
Okay.
American company.
Mhm.
Um, I'm a local politician, and obviously I'm a humanitarian, which you have mentioned, which I'm blessed
Mhm.
to be able to have done all the international work that I've done. But basically, I'm just a working class person that's got an ability, or we've all got the ability, that's honed the ability to be able to prove survival to others.
Right. And do you feel that the mediumship ability influences other areas in your resume, such as being a politician and the humanitarian side of it and everything?
I don't think it influences it, but I think when you're aware of certain feelings and certain situations, and you're picking up various different, it's very difficult to quantify, really. But a classic example is that 2 days after the Ukraine war, I flew into Romania because Moldova had a no-fly zone, but I had
Mm-hmm.
to drive all the way down through Moldova,
Mm-hmm.
sort of to get some international students and a 24-day-old baby off the border and set up a food network. And it's the common sense part of you, as well as you get a certain feeling, you get whatever, and then you go with your common sense as well. And it's not as if anything influences me. I don't look at spirit and say, "Oh, guide me for this decision," or what.
Mm-hmm.
Nothing
Mm-hmm.
like that at all. Because anybody knows me, I'm quite ultra disciplined in certain aspects, and I only use my abilities in an organized setting. So I
Mm-hmm.
will only do a public demonstration for charity, or I'll go online and do a thing. It's because if you don't, I feel if you don't do that, it gets diluted, to be honest.
Hmm. And perhaps influence was the wrong word that I used there. I apologize for that. But do you find yourself, let's say you go out in your community or you go to, and you were recently, what were some of the countries that you were in recently working on the water efforts?
Yeah, yeah. I've been to Iraq 5 times. The recent ones were the Gambia.
Okay.
Twice to Gambia this year. Twice to Iraq last year.
So, as an example, if you go into these, and some of them, as we know, Iraq, very war torn and all of that, right?
Hmm.
Can you feel that? That kind of, can you feel the energy in that land that would kind of, is it oppressive? Like, how, if you can sense it, which I'm talking about the empath kind of qualities that I know that you really, really do have, does that weigh on you at all? And if not, how do you avoid it?
Well, that's a hugely difficult question, really.
Mm-hmm.
I think the it's discipline. It's discipline, and and resetting. One of the most impact things that I had was when we were planting trees in a refugee camp,
Mm-hmm.
and we were planting them in the memory of. I don't know if everybody's heard of the Yazidis. The
No.
Yazidis, no. Well, a lot of people haven't. And what happened in Iraq was ISIS sort of treated the Yazidis, they treat them as non-people. So basically, they killed all the men and put all the girls and women into sex slavery from the age of 12. Now,
Mm-hmm.
they had them and they used to sell them and everything else. And the charity I work for support these families with food parcels and everything else because
Mm-hmm.
there's no men there and they're in refugee camps. So
Mm-hmm.
we I say no men. There's a few men, but
Mm-hmm.
the majority have been killed, and a
Mm-hmm.
lot of them then are still in ISIS, or were and still are in ISIS's hands. So we were planting these trees, and in memory of people that have lost to ISIS, so in the hope that the tree would grow and everything else,
Mm-hmm.
and they would have a little bit of shade. And this one lady, and I asked Suzanne, who was the our coordinator there. I said, you know, could you ask her sensitively who she's lost to ISIS?
Mm-hmm.
And this was my first trip to Iraq, and she said, well, she hasn't lost anybody because her sister is still in ISIS's hands, and they're hoping to get her soul back. And I was in bits. I was absolutely in bits because I've got an older sister and everything for her, and I couldn't go. And I just said, "Oh, give me a few minutes," and I just went for a walk and
Mm-hmm.
rolled my eyes. And I thought, "Well, I can't do this. I can't. I've got to reset now because
Mm-hmm.
I can't go to pieces in front of
Right.
someone that's been through a lot more than me."
Right.
So you reset, and then I went there, and then we were talking. She was then said that she was so happy with the tree because in her mind, if the tree grows, hopefully by the time the tree grows and gives shade, she'll be able to drink tea under it with her sister. And
Ah.
I was in bits, but you can't be in bits. So
Mm-hmm.
then I thought, well, that was my very first mission, and I've been on 15 now, in various different places, and I've got a reset that I can teach people. I mean, there's a reset, but yes, you do pick up things and you do feel things, and obviously that doesn't influence your decisions because you have to be practical and you have to have common sense, and it's part of my army training as well and things of that
Mm-hmm.
nature, that and you've got to be able to sort of look at things in a logical way as well.
Right. And I just quickly want to say hello to Kelly, Kelly
Hello,
McKeating.
Kelly.
Yeah.
Hello. I just passed Kelly's number on to someone like it for. I
All right.
was asked to do a service this evening, and I said, "Well, I needed to prepare for this," so I said, "Give Kelly a ring." So I don't know if they rung her or not.
Well, there you go. Your phone's going to ring, Kelly, hopefully. All right. So with the tree and everything, I really do love that. Like it's like a transmutation almost of that kind of emotional energy, like just changing it up. You know what I mean? That it could hope, like the potential for it to grow, like the actions, getting the
Oh,
energy out, and just
but they did grow because I was in Iraq last year, and I went not to that particular refugee camp, but
mhm,
I went to the first one where you can see Mosul Dam, by the river,
mhm.
and there was a family still there that
Oh,
had the trees that we donated and planted, and they were pulling figs off there, and they gave me a fig of
oh, that's
wow, blew
fantastic.
me
Yeah.
away, blew me
Oh,
away.
wow. That is really fantastic. So, in that same vein, if you come home, or I should say, when you come home from one of your humanitarian
Yeah.
missions, how do you kind of transition from that extreme to being in Coventry?
Uh,
And that
excuse
that wisdom, you're fine, and everything that you experienced with the actual strife and the struggle of all of these people and these communities in these war-torn countries, how do you use that with your community as a counselor in Coventry?
well. As I said, the thing is, um, I've taken quite a few people on their first missions,
Hmm.
and I always tell them that when they come back, it's them that's changed, not the community. So quite often, anybody has been on a humanitarian mission, they'll come back and they're a little bit crabby and they're a little bit short because they're thinking, well, you don't realize what's happened here. You don't realize what these people, and they are crabby as hell. And I always keep on saying to them, it's you that's changed, not the family around you.
Hmm.
Personally, I'm reset way, way, way before I come back. I can remember the Nepal earthquake. I was standing there 4 o'clock in the morning with dealing with a coal that somebody's brown bin hadn't been emptied
Hmm.
because I had an internet connection and I was dealing with the call and an email about my back in Coventry that somebody was so worried that they didn't have a bit of grass collected.
While you're in
Yeah,
Nepal in an
yeah,
earthquake-stricken
situation,
environment.
yes.
Okay,
And
all
you
right.
think, but
All
then
right.
that was big to them. As I said, on a one of the ways of reset is really it's a mental exercise, and
Hmm.
it takes about 90 seconds to 1.5 minutes, and then you're back to normal. So, or say normal, I'm not normal anyway, so it's
I don't think either one of us are, and I say that with
yeah.
affection and respect, Marcus.
But it's so easy to do, and if people really understood how easy it is to reset, as I said, it only takes might take a few people maybe 3 or 4 minutes in the first couple of tries, but all you need, and I can remember uh, we were quickly. I'll tell you this one because this might resonate with some people, it might not. I was at the Moroccan earthquake the day after it happened. Me and a
Hmm.
guy called Bill, and the following day that we arrived on the night after, and then it was the day after that we had to walk 2.5 hours up the Taradont, in the Taradont area up the Atlas Mountains just to be able to get to a village that nobody else had got to, and we could only get the aid up there with donkeys and mopeds. And I was saying to Bill now, that the guy I was with, and I said, Bill,
Mhm.
we've got to leave now because, no, everybody was thankful. And I said, we've got to leave because God is going to turn the light out. We're in the Atlas Mountains. God is going to turn the light out. It took us 2.5 hours to come up. It'll take us an hour to get, at least an hour to get down. So he
Mhm.
was, oh, no, 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 and he was talking, and I was saying, Bill, we got to go. We got to go. And in the end, we were walking down the Atlas Mountains following a donkey with
Oh boy.
little people had their torches on and this, that, and the other. And it took us a long time, which was quite a stressful situation. And everybody was wound up and whatever. We didn't have an internet connection, so we couldn't phone into the office. So they were getting stressed. They didn't know what was happening to us, because there's still tremors
Mhm.
going on. And when I got down there, I called Bill across because you could see he was a little bit irate. He'd phoned into the office, said, oh, I'm sorry, sorry, sorry. All this stress. I said, Bill, come over here. I said, turn your phone off. Turn your phone off. Pulled him away from everybody. Just made him do a few couple of
Mhm.
breathing exercises. I said, now look up to the sky. And he looked up to the sky and I said, no one in the universe at the moment is seeing that the way you were seeing it. Bang, reset.
Mhm.
That simple. That simple.
Yep. I love it. I love it. So, and I really do like to hear about different I like to call that grounding techniques.
Yeah, yeah, that's all it
Yeah,
is. That's all it
yeah.
is.
Um, a lot of people here in the States will be like, okay, focus on the temperature in the room, focus on the fragrance, feel your feet on the floor, feel yourself in your seat. And it's like, no, no. I mean,
No.
there has to be something that connects with the person. I've found that resonates absolutely with the individual. You can't just
Mm,
do a broad statement of like, focus on the temperature in the room. You have to be able to connect with the person in order to bring them back and have them ground very quickly. I found with clients and things of that nature. But anyway, going forward. So I do have to ask this. Do your other I guess I'll say colleagues, political colleagues,
all
right?
right. Yes. Yeah.
Do they share the same kind of humanitarian? I'm going to say it, but I'm an American. We're spicy over here, right?
Hmm.
Do they share the same kind of humanitarian efforts that you do, my friend? Like, are they out there? Are they like pushing the boundaries and really like doing the work?
No.
Okay.
I said that. Look, everybody's different. Everybody's different,
Exactly.
and they
Everybody
they
is
they
an
are doing
individual.
they are doing different things.
Hmm.
On the humanitarian side, I'm sure that a lot of them are doing things in their way. Um,
Hmm.
and I feel absolutely blessed to be able to be in the position to do it, and a lot of people might not have that. And yeah, look, people say, "Oh, you do so much about humanitarian work. You do this, that, and the other." And I say, I'm blessed. I'm the lucky one.
Hmm.
I'm the lucky one because it's the people that donate that £5 or £10 from the Sikh community.
Hmm.
They are the powerful ones because without those donations, someone like me wouldn't be able to have the ability to go out and do it. So, and my colleagues from all different political parties, I'm sure they do work in their way and
Hmm.
whatever. I'm not
Absolutely. Absolutely.
yeah,
Hmm.
and they do charity work and they do work and They do it there.
If I may, Marcus, I would like to correct myself a little. Maybe I should have said more of like on an international level, the humanitarian efforts and getting out there and really like going at it.
Yeah,
Um, yeah, because there are things at home in your own backyard,
yeah,
that kind of thing that needs attention just as much as elsewhere. But I think from uh, being on the outside and obviously from the American aspect of it, I really, really have to give you kudos and applaud your efforts for your service to humankind.
yeah, yeah.
And
But Rachel, I always tell everybody, as I said, I am so blessed to be able to be in a position to do it. The thing is, we are all part of a jigsaw puzzle. That's all we
mhm,
are, all little pieces of the jigsaw puzzle. If
yeah,
you have faith, if you have some sort of faith, you believe
mhm,
that there's a higher force that sees the whole picture.
yep,
We
yep.
don't need to see the full picture.
Oh
We
goodness.
don't need
The,
to see the full picture. All
oh,
we
okay, you.
is that little bit that we're involved in. So, from
uh,
the people that do the donations to do the
mhm,
fundraising, this, that, and the other, and the people like me that deliver on the front line, I am so blessed to be able to do it.
mhm.
And that's not me being any other thing than truthful. If,
I hear you loud and clear. I do. But I'm still, as an outsider, I'm going to applaud your efforts. And you and I, February siblings, I, you say jigsaw puzzle, I say cogs on a
yeah, cogs in the
wheel
wheel. Yeah, 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 yeah.
of a bigger mechanism.
Yeah,
And what happens if one cog gets mucked up, right? It's not gonna go. It's not gonna
yeah.
turn. So you have to. We have to acknowledge the importance of each and every
Every single
person,
person, every single person.
everything, everything. And also in that same vein, yes, absolutely. I always end up to the chagrin, and I'm using one of those big wordy words there I mentioned to you there, Marcus. To the chagrin of many of my clients, I will quote Plato, and this is an extreme paraphrase, but the only thing we'll ever know is that we won't know. That's all we need to know is that we won't ever know. And there is some kind of comfort I personally find and just being like in the here and the now and kind of giving up the existential kind of crises, just be like, I'm going to live my life, I'm going to help people, I'm going to keep the mechanism, the wheels turning. I'm going to try my best to show up and acknowledge people in my environment. And I think that's why you and I are good buddies. 'Cause
Oh,
I might
no,
not be
no,
able to go
no,
to Gambia or
no,
anything like that.
no, no, no. We are good buddies because you are at the top of the tree of your profession with your palmistry. That's why we're good
Aw.
buddies, and I respect hugely anybody that has worked so hard as you have, and
Yes,
and
thank
and
you.
and I've said it to your face, and I'll say it to everybody. That's why you were my bestie on Spiritual Psychics TV, is because you blew them away every single time.
Uh, oh, well, thank you. We're over here patting ourselves on the back,
Ah,
you and
well,
I.
that's yeah.
But let's get back down to this. Okay, so if we were talking about political colleagues, we touched very lightly on a very hot topic there, right? For you. Now, as I said when I first started this live tonight, what I know about UK politics couldn't even fill
Mhm.
a cup, right? But I do know that you guys over there have different parties, and you
Yes.
made a great switch in what
Oh God, a
party.
big one, a big one, a big one. Yeah,
Ooh, now,
big one.
you are a member of the Reform Party,
Reform
correct?
UK Party. Yes, yes, I
Mhm.
am. Yeah.
And would you like to talk about that and what that means to you?
Well, well, the thing is, British politics are going through a mess, just as American politics has.
Mm-hmm.
Because I've followed American politics for quite a
Boy,
number of
me
years,
too.
and I know how divisive
Yeah.
it is. Basically, from when I could first vote, I've been a conservative. So I've been
Mhm,
conservative for 51 years.
mhm,
But I've been telling everybody since 2012 that the Conservatives should be in power, and I was a hardworking conservative because we weren't doing it right. We weren't doing the conservative values. But in Britain, there wasn't a credible alternative, and there's
mhm,
still not a credible alternative in my mind. So I was looking at Reform UK because I was led the Brexit campaign in Coventry South and various different things. Now, Reform UK are taken, that we take a lot of flack. We'll take a lot of flack because mainstream politics in the UK are a total utter mess. Now,
mhm,
Reform UK are for British, basically for British culture, traditional values, and national identity. You know, we want to restore law and order. We don't want a two-tier system, which is happening at the moment, which I'm sure a lot of the people in America will understand, where we haven't got free speech at the moment, where you get
mhm.
someone jailed for a post on X that was taken down straight away,
Yeah.
and
Oh
then
goodness.
you've got a
Mhm,
Labour politician that's saying we should slit their throats, and he did this, and they found him not guilty. And so you can't. That's two-tier politics. Sorry, it's two-tier law, and
mhm,
and it is two-tier. That's why we call a lot of people call the prime minister two-tier Kia.
mhm,
But the party I belong to, uh, we want to restore law and order. We want to be a free and proud and prosperous nation. Now, the thing is, the Reform Party don't care what colour you are. They don't care what creed you are. They don't care what religion you are. If
mhm,
you are legally in the country and you love this country, then join Reform UK. That's what I say. And it was a big move for me. It was a big move. But I'll tell you one thing, talking about, how other maybe politicians view my sort of mediumship or my
mhm,
way of life. A lot of people don't talk about it. Some people talk to me about it. Some people don't. The majority of them know. Um, excuse me. And the
okay.
thing is, when I left the Conservative Party, and it hurt them because I used to be
Mhm,
deputy chair political. I was hard working, and I used to run campaigns and things like that.
mhm,
When I left, up until the day before yesterday, when I saw an ex-colleague at a community event, not one, not one, after 15 years of dedicated service, not one had communicated anything whatsoever to me.
oh,
So
Jesus.
you make your own judgment, and you think, well, I was in the wrong party then, wasn't I? Even when I led campaigns and got most of them elected, not one of them even had the decency to say, look, we're sorry you're leaving, but thank you for your work.
Mhm.
Not
No.
one, not one, Rachel. So then, look, I didn't have to be valued when I was a politician. Don't need to be valued because I'm about working for the community. But then when
Mhm.
you look back on that, you think, my goodness gracious, yeah, I made the right move because now I'm a happy bunny. I'm a happy bunny.
Happy bunny.
I'm a
All
happy
right.
bunny.
So, very quickly, I want to say hello to Catherine.
Hello,
Thank you for
Catherine.
joining. All right. And so, I have a question. You were talking about uh, immigration, you kind of briefly touched on that a little
Yeah, yeah.
bit, and that, of course, is a very hot topic
Yeah,
all over
yes,
the
yeah.
place,
All
right?
over the world. Yeah, 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 yeah.
Whee! But we also mentioned Khalsa Aid and Langor Aid
Yes,
and
yeah.
how and the Sikh community.
Hmm.
So may I ask, what is it specifically about the Sikh belief system, or maybe it's just the community in and of itself, that you kind of embrace on a personal level?
Yeah, I'm not Sikh, obviously, but
Correct?
within the Sikh community or the Sikh
Mm-hmm.
religion, basically they believe in three things: is they link with God, that's their prayer and their gurus, hard work and family, family and
Mm-hmm.
sharing, which is what they call the server, which is selfless service. Now,
Mm-hmm.
I met Inderjit Singh, at an event, or going back about 9 years ago, and he was feeding the homeless at the time,
Mm-hmm.
and I helped. I've been part of the Langar Aid team for since that time, and we've grown from feeding the homeless and the rough sleepers on the street now to having a centre where we distribute food to the wider West Middle huge area, especially through COVID. We were delivering food parcels to vulnerable people even before the government were. And it's grown and grown and grown. And we supply children with uh, uh, breakfast for children at school at deprived areas. Um,
Mm-hmm.
and to me, I think it's the server part, it's the selfless service that gels me with the Sikh community.
Mm-hmm.
It's because I honestly believe 100% the only way that we will grow spiritually is by selfless service. And
I agree.
spiritualism, and a lot of people wouldn't understand that terminology in America, but spiritualism, the core beliefs of spiritualism, eternal progress open to every human soul. And one of the other seven principles is personal responsibility. And the thing is that when we pass, we go on, we continue on,
Mm-hmm.
we continue on. And we will reside in the place that we have earned spiritually, not materially. You can't go to the spirit world and say, oh, well, I've got $1 billion and I've got a house and I've got that lovely car and a yacht. And when I get
Mm-hmm.
the spirit world, I want this, that, and the other. It doesn't work like that. When this body falls away, the real us, the real you, is going to continue on. And I honestly believe that we will reside in the place that we have earned spiritually. So to me, selfless service, putting yourself, it might be just helping a neighbor, it might be
Mm-hmm.
smiling at someone, it might be whatever it is. And that's one of my core beliefs. And because that then is also a core belief within the Sikh community, and that's where the gel and the interblend comes. Really, it's selfless service.
I can absolutely appreciate all of that. Um, so, when you were talking about selfless service and the principles and things of that nature between in spiritualism, I know that there are probably going to be some people at some point that watch this and on, whether it be on Facebook or YouTube or even on Spotify, God love them, they're going to try to ask, oh, are there any messages from so and so? And obviously, tonight is not about that. This is
Hmm.
about having a discussion about everything, right? We're not doing readings or anything like that. I just want to get that out there. But I do have a question about kind of going back a little bit. A lot of people are driven not just by ego, but by grief. and also by loss. Those are big components into the recipe of
Yeah,
things.
yeah.
And so as a medium and as a humanitarian and as a politician working as a counselor in Coventry, how do you balance all of that? I mean, we kind of touched on it a little bit, but I want to bring it up again. How do you balance all of that? Because I do know, Marcus, that you feel a lot. You can shake somebody's head, or you can just see
Hmm.
somebody a mile away and be like, okay, I pretty much have this person down. You understand what I mean? Like, know
Yes,
what
yes,
they're
I do.
about,
Yeah,
that kind
yeah,
of
yeah.
thing. And as I said earlier tonight, going to a war torn country and just feeling the energy, that kind of thing. Not really even being in front of somebody, but just feeling the energy of the land, right? How do you work with that without it kind of overwhelming you? And I know you said it all comes back to grounding and things of that nature, but are you absolutely sure that there isn't a book that you need to write?
Well, I, well, I've taught psychic and mediumistic development over a number of years.
Mhm,
Periodically I go into it and
mhm.
I do classes and various different things. Remember,
Right.
Deb
Deb,
Clark. Yeah,
yeah,
well,
absolutely.
Deb,
Wonderful lady.
yeah,
Hmm.
Deb did the Spiritual National Union training, and then she phoned me and she said, "Marcus, can I come and sit in one of your development classes?" And she came for a while just to hone her skills. She's been
Hmm.
always a brilliant medium, but it and the thing is, I can remember. Telling Deb and numerous other students, you only need three things to be a medium. You only need three things, and that's discipline, discipline, and discipline. Discipline with yourself, discipline with spirit, and discipline in the way in which you lay the information forward in a responsible way. And the thing is, that is what's lacking in a lot of mediums and a lot of psychics. Because you can be a psychic without being a medium, but you can't be
Hmm.
a medium without a psychic ability. And the
Hmm.
thing is, that's where the imbalance comes. And I would say it's discipline. I do discipline myself where a very good friend of mine, she's in spirit now. Her name was Barbara. And she was what I would be calling like a dripping psychic. Every minute of the day, she was giving something, giving, 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 giving. And yes, it was some good information. It was this, that, and the other. But then it's diluted and it's watered down. And the thing
Hmm.
is, any working medium will understand that you go to a public demonstration or you go for a private reading, as you do. Do a lot of private work. There's different approaches to it. If you go into a divine service, you have to stick to rules and regulations.
Hmm.
When you're in a public demonstration, depending on the venue, whether it's an intimate venue, I remember Deb sort of booked me and her to do a fundraising event for veterans, and,
Hmm.
and and he was in the pub, a back room of a pub. And I
Okay.
said, yeah, yeah, okay, we'll do it. A bar, whatever, I'll do
Hmm.
it and we'll do it. But she didn't tell me that the lounge part and the bar part didn't have a dividing wall.
Oh.
It,
Yeah.
it went well. It went well. It went well.
Really?
It
All
went
right.
well.
Right.
But you got a bar there, so you have to be disciplined, or you can't allow certain aspects to come in, or whether you're doing services online. Again, the discipline. So, and the thing is that everybody's got their own style, and you did mention ego, and we know we
Hmm.
know what ego means within this world is
Hmm.
ease God out.
Hmm.
you know so that, that's what ego is. So if you think of oh, I'm this, that, and the other. The thing is, there's nothing wrong with wanting to be the best medium for spirit communication. Nothing wrong with being that. So aiming towards that. There's nothing wrong with being the best palmist there is, because you are. But there's nothing wrong with being the best, wanting to be the best card reader or crystal healer. Nothing wrong with wanting to strive towards that. What is wrong is if you think you are it. Yeah,
And that can go over into the realm of politics, as
exactly.
well as
Big time.
unfortunately, as well as going on humanitarian missions, meaning that you will think about how is this going to make me look, that kind of thing.
There's
Which,
always that balance. Yes, there's
uh,
always that balance. Always, always.
eh,
Are they
eh,
doing it just for this? Are they doing it just for that? No, I don't want to get into politics, but I was in Madagascar after the hurricane. We were building dwellings, and I
mm,
saw some um, aid operations, for choice of a better word,
mhm,
that were maybe not to what I would say was the correct way to do things. And one guy that I was there, and he cold shouldered us, said, "Oh, NGOs, you're this, that, and the other." And he was running the hotel we were in. There's only two of us in the hotel.
mm,
Because it was straight after the hurricane, or a while after the hurricane, so he didn't have
mhm,
any other business. And then a few days later, he asked us for a coffee, and I says, "Well, you were a bit cold with us, and you were a bit rude." And he said, "Oh no," he says, "Malanjari, which is a part of Madagascar, down in Madagascar where we were."
mhm,
He said, "I can see that you're working." I said, "Well, we didn't travel thousands of miles not to work, and we would dig in, and we would helping build the dwellings and whatever." And he said, "Oh no, the all the other aid organisations used to turn up in the big 4x4s with the satellite dish and all this, that, and the other, and they didn't used to do anything other than take pictures and do this, do that." So there's ways of doing it, and don't get me wrong. With Calcerate and Langerade, we use social media, because without
mhm.
showing people on social media what we're doing, we don't get the donations in. So there
Right,
is that
right.
balance. There is that balance to find. But the one
Mhm,
good thing with the NGO that I work with is, unless we're delivering it to the front line and handing it to the people, it doesn't get done. So
mhm,
we have got to see the whites of their eyes, and we've got to be doing it that way.
mhm.
And I didn't mention the one from America, did I?
Don't. I mean, if you want, you can. But
Well, I'll tell you now, because it was, yeah, well, yeah.
go ahead if you want. Do you want to?
I thought that, it starts with US, doesn't it?
Okay. Yeah, okay. Let's leave it at that. All right. So, so what do you think, going back to mediumship here,
Hmm.
what do you think is the biggest misconception about true mediumship? I got to preface that with true mediumship. What do you think is the biggest misconception?
I think the biggest misconception is that it's the terminology that's used within the movement. A lot of people make something up that's not there. I can remember listening to mediums when I first started, and they would say, "I can see some." I think I mentioned this the last podcast. "I can see someone building up behind you," and I looked behind and I said, "No, you can't. There's nobody behind." And it's this. They try to make it mystical. They
Mm,
try to make it something that's unnatural, and it's not.
mm,
It's not.
mhm,
Mediumship, we all mediums. We are all mediums. Every single one of us, every living, breathing human being is a
mhm,
medium. is just recognizing the signals that spirits send us. And some people don't want it. That's fine. Don't recognize it. You just live your life. But the biggest misconception is that it is something mystical, and it's not. And a lot of people use it as mystical, either for financial gain or to elevate themselves in someone else's standing. And mediumship is so simple, so simple.
If I may, Marcus, I think that in the States, the unfortunate reality behind mediumship is that many people, because there is no real standard, we do not have an
Mhm.
SNU, we do not have, I mean, we have Lilydale, right? We have some spiritualist communities,
Yeah, yeah.
maybe two, maybe three. That's it.
Mhm.
Mm, People don't talk about them. Nothing. Nobody really knows about it. And unfortunately, here in the States, what I have seen is that there are too many people that that's not really trying to make things mystical. It's more theatrical. I'm
Oh
gonna go
God,
there
yeah,
with it.
big time
I'm gonna
theatrics.
go
Yeah, yeah,
there
yeah,
with it.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah. It's like, oh, I feel a dark presence, that kind of stuff. And it's like, what? 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 Yeah.
Oh dear.
And, and,
Honestly, yeah, the
and
theatrics.
unfortunately,
Yeah,
yeah. And unfortunately, that seems to be the standard, the expectation here in the States. If somebody talks to a medium, they want the theatrics and not the reality. Example, I was in my office, this is maybe about a month ago, before I became ill and everything very quickly, right? And it was on a Saturday, and I had these two ladies came in, and that one woman was saying, "Oh, I really want to have a reading. I've never had a reading before, but I'm really interested in palmistry." And I said, okay, well, have you ever had any type of reading? And her friend interrupted her and said, "You don't want palmistry, you want a card reading. I'll do that for you." And the woman that initially came up to me, because I was just out and about in the
yeah,
bookshop, talking to the owner of the bookshop, Craig, and these ladies came in and saw me, and that's what we were talking about. And so this initial one that asked about palmistry and everything, she started to shake and start getting a little panicky and have a little bit of a panic attack. And she said, "But I don't want to know anything bad." And she like whispered it, like her voice went down. She, "I don't
yeah,
want anything bad." And I said, "Well, that's good because I'm a real palm reader and I'm not going to do that to you. Like that's not real palmistry." And she said, "But God love her. God love her." She said, "But I'm also Catholic." And I and, and I said, "Okay."
That's the
I said,
Catholic guilt. That is the
yeah.
Catholic guilt
And,
coming
and,
in. Yeah,
and I said, "Well, that's all fine and good." I said, "You haven't asked what my beliefs are." I said, "I'm actually an ordained minister. I'm an
yeah,
interfaith minister. I believe every religion is valid
mhm,
as long as it's a belief system that makes you feel good and strong and doesn't hurt you or anybody else."
yeah.
And she's looking at me and she said, "I watch Netflix and she started name dropping some
Oh,
celebrity mediums, right?
God help us.
And she said, "Do you do mediumship?" And I said, "Well," I said, "Yeah, if something comes up in a reading, I will absolutely address it and I will deliver the message." I said, "But I'm just not solely a medium. I don't like to
Mhm.
label myself as that." And she was like, "See, I'm more comfortable with a medium than I am with a palm reading."
Oh my goodness.
And I
But
looked at her
yeah,
and I said, and I thought about this and I said, "You know what?" I said, "I don't understand that. I don't understand why you would be afraid of
Mm,
palmistry and not mediumship. I said, palmistry is literally reading and addressing your energy and the
mm,
lines on your hand, curvature of your hand. I said, they they're both together,
yeah.
yes, but and I said, go home. Here's my business card. Go home, do some homework, and you know where I'm at. If you want a reading
It's quite
down the pipeline.
Yeah, but that's quite sad, really, because Catholics, and my wife's Catholic.
Hmm.
They pray to people or saints to intercede for them. And All
Mm,
Saints Day, they were expected for someone to be able to influence something good that maybe they'd done something not so good.
right,
So
right.
your Catholics usually, a lot of Catholics in this country are usually quite receptive to mediums and spiritualism. And
Not here.
oh wow,
When, oh, not here at all,
can,
Marcus.
can we get rid of a lot of the misconceptions, maybe for your listeners, that
Hmm.
a medium, all a medium is there to prove survival. They're there
Hmm.
to prove survival. They are there to prove to you they are communicating with someone that has lived before, and they'll give you evidence of that. And
Hmm.
that is it. That
Hmm.
is it. When a medium has proved survival, the job is done.
Hmm.
It's not going to tell you if you're going to move house. It's not going to do this. I can remember doing this. I, d- I only do private readings for charity. And
Hmm.
so if a church says, Marcus, can you come and do a day of private readings? I go over there, they get the money, great. It's all great. It's all for charity. And I went to, I think it was over Birmingham, somewhere in Birmingham in the UK. And there was this lady within the first couple of minutes. I said, well, I've got this guy. His name's this, that, the other. I give his name, his age, what he passed. Oh, yeah, that's my husband. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Got that. Got the information. I thought, well, job's done. Reading went on for about another 10 minutes, whatever. Everything was okay. And then I said, well, I hope I prove survival. Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah. That was my husband. That was my husband. Can you tell me when I'm going to move house? And I said, no, no. Why would I want to do that? I'm a medium. I've proven survival. You've now got that knowledge of a continuation of life for all. Now
Hmm.
structure your life around that. That's what
Hmm.
mediumship is. There's nothing, and also, if anybody, a card reader, a psychic, a medium, says something that affects you, sorry, that insults your reasoning and your common sense, throw it out for the rubbish it is, because it's rubbish. And all the
Hmm.
theatrics, you want to take that out of it. You really want to take that out. Yeah, that's my
Now,
little rant. That's my little rant.
oh, that was not a rant, but I will say that that type of a reading, which is just validation of life after death, you might say, right, of the spirit, right? That would not fly here in the States. It would not. They want, their long lost Aunt Nancy to talk about what kind of wallpaper they need to put in their bedroom, and why the what kind of where they should order the carpeting from, and
Yeah.
what's wrong with the car, and is their child going to graduate from college, and it's all of this like
But then, but
prognostication
that's,
kind of.
but then
Yeah.
that perpetuates charlatans, doesn't it? Because then
Correct.
everybody, you know, they might put, then you have to fill in the gaps. Then
Hmm.
and that's nonsense. That's nonsense. That's not mediumship. That's not mediumship.
Now, see, I will admit, if I know that this was basically to talk to you, but I will say something interesting happened to me. And when mediumship, like the medium side of me, kind of like lights up, right? When I'm doing a reading with someone, um, that's how I like to view it in my head, anyway. It's
Yeah.
like all of a sudden, it's like, we, okay, we have a spirit here, okay, that kind of thing. I was in a reading with a client about maybe a year and a half, 2 years ago. And I will never forget this. That I had no clue what I always just do my readings cold. I will just
Mhm.
ask, like, do you have a specific situation this is about? Yes or no. That's basically the only question I will ask. I won't let anybody really give me information because I want them to know it comes from a very honest,
Yeah.
altruistic place, right? And all of a sudden, we're doing this palm reading, and I was okay. There was a gentleman there that was like, okay, you have to tell her, like insisting. And I still remember him wearing dark green. So, I mean, everything about him kind of sweaty, comb over everything, right? Little pudgy, kind of sausagey fingers, all concerned about a Rolex watch. Why wasn't it buried with him? This huge conversation, like input. And I'm looking at her and I'm like, okay, I have to tell you this. And so he was all concerned about there's a bank. I think they're Chase. Have you know Chase Bank, JP
Yes.
Morgan
Yeah. Yeah.
Chase
Yeah. Yeah.
Bank? So there is a really, really tall building. It was maybe, I don't know, 20-floor building, maybe even more than that in downtown Youngstown, Mahoney County here. Old, very old, 1800s building. And that's old for us. It's old for us,
That's not
okay?
old.
Uh, and the spirit was going off about it, talking about areas in the building and stocks and get your money out of there. You have to fix this. You got to do that. And I'm like, I don't talk like that. I was just like, I don't venture on finances, health, legal. I won't do it. Right? You just don't because you got it. That's not great. You can't do it. Right? And he's and I so I'm asking her questions. Do you by any chance do business at Chase? Like, maybe you need to kind of be careful of that building. I don't know. And he was giving me dates. He
Yeah.
was going like this, and he's going, it's gonna go, it's gonna blow, it's gonna blow. And I'm like, and I kept doing that to her, right? And then he was all concerned about his Rolex watch and how he was supposed to be buried with it because he knew that his two kids were going to fight over it and all this other
Yeah.
stuff.
Like.
And I'm telling her this, and she said, and she's writing it all down, and she's like, okay, I totally pushed it out of my head. I thought, what the heck just happened, right? I was like, oh my gosh. I was like, whatever, right? I kid you not, Marcus. I get an email from her because I had completely forgotten about this reading, right? This appointment. 3 months later, I get might have been just 3 weeks later. Now I'm thinking about it. Email from her saying, "Did you see what happened to the Chase building? The Chase building blew up."
Oh
And he
wow.
was saying, "It's gonna
Yeah.
go.
Yeah.
It's gonna
Yeah. Yeah.
blow.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
gonna
Yeah.
blow." And he was in absolute panic mode. And he actually addressed and showed areas of where this was gonna happen, like
Yeah.
how it
Yeah.
was gonna
Yeah.
happen and stuff. And she had the notes, and she said, "I'm definitely gonna go and take care of this man's grave now," because he was upset that there were weeds and
Yeah.
stuff on his headstone. And he's like,
Yeah.
"What is this stuff? This is not what I wanted." And so that is the weirdness of my mediumship, which is
Yeah.
why
Yeah.
I'm just
Yeah.
like,
But the thing is, it proves survival,
this is true.
and that's the end game. When you prove survival, that's the end game. How they
Mm,
do it, how they do it, and how they send the messages, whether it's visual, whether it's feelings or whatever, it's up to the medium to interpret that to prove
mhm.
that, and that's the end game for a medium. Really should be not the theatrics. It's
Well,
all
that
good.
was that was all that was all came out in the wash. I mean,
Yeah, yeah,
everything was verbatim, right? I mean, she found his grave. He gave directions as to where to find
yeah.
it,
But
like what,
but then
all of it, right?
it's only him that could have known that, so that's proof survival. Well done, you.
Yeah,
Job
yeah,
done.
I did.
And it's job done, isn't it? It's job done.
Yeah, I guess, but that was the wildest journey I personally have ever been on with a client. I
Ah,
gotta
there'll be
admit.
a few more. There'll be a few more. Don't you worry about that.
Okay, Marcus. Okay, so getting back to you, sir. So when you look at the world today,
Yeah,
and that's a pretty big picture there,
yeah.
but from the trifecta that you work within humanitarian, politics, and the spiritual world, right? Communicating the spirit. Out of working with any of those three sectors within society, do you have something, one thing that you focus on or pick up on that you kind of builds hope for you, like
Uh,
for like future stuff?
not hope for me. I don't
But
need
I,
any
but I,
hope.
but I mean like
I,
because
Rachel,
the
uh,
world is a big mishmash of
yeah,
complex
yeah.
chaos right now. So,
Uh,
is there one common thread that you think you kind of feel and see that maybe other people just aren't aware of?
yeah, it's love.
Mhm,
True spiritual love. Not not the nonsense that you misconcept that word, where, oh, I love this or I love that or whatever. I mean, love transcends time and dimensions, and this is why our ancestors and our spirits come back to give us information.
mhm,
I always say I'm responsible. Me, nobody else. I'm responsible for my actions, my thoughts, and my deeds. And then we learn by our mistakes. And then when we serve, then all the chaos that's going on around most of it's man-made. It's because
mhm,
people want power, they want control, they want this, they want that. But a lot of it, when people get that evidence of a continuation of life, they will then become to realize that they're eternal. They're eternal. you
mhm,
know and a lot of it, we cause the pain by ourselves. We cause the pain.
mhm,
you know I always say, you get up in the morning, you're vertical, you take your first breath, life is good. It is. Life is
this
good.
is true.
And
It's life
so
is simple.
yeah, it is. And yes, I see injustices, and I see corruption, and I see people, and I see hate, and I see this, and I see that, and whatever, especially in the world of politics, whichever way
Mm,
you look at it. But the thing is, when you look at, and I've said this quite often in addresses in churches, if you have you ever just smiled at someone in the street?
mhm.
Have you just walked down the street and smile at people? And they look at you and they, who's this nutter walking down the
Yep.
street? But the thing is, that smile touches people. And sometimes
Mhm,
they smile back. And it can be that simple, that connection. And the thing is, where whatever you do in your life, whatever you do and however you help, if you reach out and touch on someone in a kind way and in a loving way, and if anybody wants to experience true spiritual love, just look down at the baby.
mhm,
Because there'll be this absolutely gummy little smile that'll hit you. You will get a feeling. It's not a physical thing. It's not a physical thing. It's an emotional thing. It's a spiritual thing. So
mhm,
love is not the misconstrued word that I love this, I love that, whatever, or like my wife says, of course I love you, now put the kettle on. Not that type of love, but the true spiritual love that pushes us forward. And you've got to be,
mhm.
you know, without love, we're nothing. Yeah. And
Veronica says, more often than not, people smile back.
exactly,
Mhm.
exactly. And quite often, if if you're just walking past people and nobody smiles at that person, what type of life are they leading then?
That's
Nobody's
right.
smiling at them. So love is the eternal. Love is the eternal. And quite often, when you think the true spiritual love, that's what propels us forward. Because every single one of us has that spark of divinity within. And that is the beautiful thing. It's just that we cause a lot of our own pain. We cause a lot of our
Mhm.
own pain.
I actually have started trying to explain the complexity of stuff in the following manner, that life is so simple that it seems complex, and that it's kind of like geometry. It's like in geometry, you have to basically just memorize the theorems and understand, okay, this is called a right angle. This is called a isosceles triangle. This is etc. It gets all complicated when you start to ask, but why?
Hmm.
Why is that an isosceles triangle? Why does 90 degrees have to make a right angle? That kind of thing.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
That's when things become more complex. But at the core, life and the situations within the construct of spiritual beings having a human existence, it's very simple. Very, very simple. So, Marcus, I know it's very late for you. It's after midnight for you right now. So, I'm going to ask the same questions. That's this part of this thing that I am
Hmm.
starting to do.
Hmm.
And we got a few questions here,
Okay.
and I promise you they're not weird. That they're very topical. But
The
what's your
weirder
favorite?
the better for me.
Me too, actually. But what's your favorite color at the moment, off the top
That's,
of your head?
no, it's not off the top of my head. Always has been, always will be purple.
Purple.
Purple,
Okay.
because when I see purple splashes, I know I'm in a different, when you close your eyes, you see those purple splashes going away from you and whatever. I'm,
Mm,
I'm, I'm in a different dimension. I'm in a different dimension.
okay. Favorite fragrance or scent or smell?
Oh, that's a difficult one, really, because my daughter, I've only just grown a beard over the last year or so, and because my wife wanted me to grow a beard, but my daughter brought me some sort of French aftershave, and
Hmm.
when I used to shave, whatever, and I can't remember the Mount Blanc it was, but there's different ones, and I've never
Hmm.
been able to get it again, so I don't know. So yeah, so
Okay. What's your favorite day of the week?
every day. Every single day, every single day, because I'm alive. I'm in this physical body, and while I'm in there, I can do good every single day.
What's your favorite season of the year?
Season. Ooh, wow. Well, look, I love, well, as you can see, the color. Two trips to Gambia and one to Sorrento. I love the heat. I absolutely love the heat. But I also skied as well. I used to ski when I was in the army. So
Mm, those are
favorite
two
season.
extremes.
It is
Absolute
too extreme.
opposites. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. But I love the heat. I love the heat. I love the heat.
Okay.
When it's about Um, when I was in Iraq and I come out of this restaurant and there was like an hairdryer hitting me, I just stood there. Oh, lovely, lovely. Turn it up a bit. Turn it up.
Mhm. What's your favorite song at the moment?
It always has been. There's two really. There's Opposite Tables by John Denver. I don't know if you've ever heard of it. And
No, I
if
know a lot
anybody
of John
hasn't,
Denver,
yeah,
but I have not heard of that one. No.
I am privileged to have seen John Denver three times live.
Oh
But
wow.
there's two songs by John Denver. The one which was Sweet Surrender, I think is the more popular that people would know. That used to be a very, very song close to my heart, but then Opposite Tables. So anybody that's listening, listen to the words at Opposite Tables. You will understand what I mean.
Okay. All right. So, and I had asked you to look at the soundtrack for the podcast, which was Spill the Tea with Rachel G on
Mm.
Spotify,
And I
to
didn't.
pick a song. It's okay. It's all good. So there will be no spilled tea this
Oh no, no,
evening.
you pick one. You pick one. Do it.
No,
Come on,
no,
come
no,
on,
no,
come
no,
on, come.
no.
Anyway, because there wouldn't be any spilled tea because I don't drink tea. The
Oh, there
only,
you go.
if anybody knows me, they know the first time I drank tea since 1977 was in a refugee camp in Iraq, and I was there, and they make this tea in a little glass. And I said to
Hmm.
my mate, it was my first mission, I said, I don't drink tea. He said, you effing well do now. It's cultural. So, so I had to sip this tea, but I don't drink tea at all. I only coffee.
Okay.
This
All
is why I
right.
say support me at buymecoffee.com, which I love that. So anybody can buy me a coffee.
All right. So if you are curious, though, check out on Spotify. It is the Spill the Tea with Rachel G soundtrack. And every song, and there's about 4 hours worth of music at last count, every song on that playlist has to do with some strange interaction that I actually witnessed or was a part of, whether it be celebrities, different gatherings, moments, events, worldwide kind of situations, and there will be no tea spilled. And that was a request by a couple people that I start doing that. But you're not getting tea tonight. Now, the next episode is this coming Wednesday, and I'm going to be interviewing Craig Duster, who, if you guys are local to me here in Mahoney County, he is the owner of Pop Art Books Culture, and that is on Marcus Street, and that just happens to be where I have my office, and he and I are good friends. And Marcus, I want to thank you again for staying up because you are 5 hours ahead of us here. And just thank you for doing what you do and being an all around great, genuine person. The world needs more people like you and doing the good work and just keeping at it. I can't pat you on the back enough and applaud you enough with your efforts. And thank you from the bottom of my heart for stopping by tonight and putting up with my shenanigans.
Oh, it's always my absolute pleasure. As you say, we don't talk that often, but
This is true.
you always are my bestie. Love you to bits, honestly, and it's an
I
absolute.
love you to bits too.
And the thing is, everybody is doing their little bit, and if we all do a
Mhm.
little bit, a lot gets done.
That is correct. That is correct. And with that, I'm going to say good night to all of you, and I wish you well, and please take care of one another. Good night, everybody. Bye
No
bye.
star. That's good night in Welsh.